Hello again, Anne Claire.
Hi again, Meg.
Have you been well in the past 30 minutes since we've been talking?
Doing great. Doing fantastically well. Thank you. How are you?
Ah, still doing good. It started raining.
Oh,
I can't. It's so relaxing. I love the sound of the rain.
well, that's nice. Well, I have very intense winds over here. My little plant got completely blown away by the wind. Not like blown away like wow, rather like blown away like things. So I'm gonna have to fix that later. But oh well.
Gosh, you're just letting him dangle there, like tipped over?
No worries. It's a fake plant. It's not gonna
Oh,
die. So yeah, if it had been a real plant, I'd have been like, pause, let me go in there.
it's like, wow, Anne Claire, just like letting this poor little plant
Like,
stuff.
this is my commitment to this recording is that I am staying here and letting my plant die.
I was going to say, you can pause and go pick up the plant. He'll probably be thankful for that. See how I humanize in, I guess, object? I guess plants are living things. So I tend to do that.
Oh, I do that too. But yeah, so no worries. It's not a living thing. It's fake plant. It's probably also why it's getting blown away because it's less heavy than if it had been like a real one with a big pot of,
Actual soil.
Yeah, soil and stuff. So anyways, that's the fun story at the beginning of this recording.
Yes. Real and fake plants. Love that.
Now, that being said, we are actually sort of jumping on the back of the last video we just recorded with this question. The question being, what are recovery sabotaging behaviors and what are some that you and I struggled with?
Ooh, that's a good question. So it's interesting because in the recovery space, we have two types of behaviors, right? In coaching, we call them overt behaviors. We call the other kinds recovery sabotaging. And overt behaviors are really those behaviors that when you look up the definition of an eating disorder, they're kind of there, like restricting food, purging, binging, excessive exercise. They're the glaring red flags. Like for me, since I had like bulimia as part of my story, I had glaring red flags with overt behaviors where I was like, I must have an eating disorder because I'm doing these things. But then there's also the subtle piece of behaviors, which are recovery sabotaging. And I like to think of them as kind of the diet culture, like the things that are highly held and regarded in diet culture that have just been corrupted and really taken to the extreme. They're always corrupted. Even in diet culture, it's corrupt, but the eating disorder latches onto them and gives you the narrative. It's okay to be doing this. This is normal. This is part of health. And even though they're not overt, they still have the potential to keep you stuck in your eating disorder much longer than you need to be.
Yeah.
Whole list of them. I mean, it can go from like compulsive exercise, like we were just saying, counting calories, body checking. I know we're going to get into that list, but that's how I view them. Do you have anything you would add to that?
No, I love that. I really like to insist on two things. One, yes, they're normalized by society. And at the same time, too, they're a really slippery slope if you're engaging in them and you're in recovery. And when I say they're a really slippery slope, I mean, if you don't stop, you will probably be stuck. I'm not saying you might slip and fall. I'm saying you will definitely slip and fall.
They are triggering behaviors. Like,
yeah,
if
exactly.
you continue to do this, you have the risk of triggering yourself into a deeper place in your eating disorder.
The reason I'm so comfortable with saying that they will keep you stuck and not they might keep you stuck is that the reason that they're there is the same reason that the overt behaviors are there. It's not like suddenly it's like, but these ones are there and they have different intentions and different reasons, like being and whatnot. No, they're actually the exact same supportive beliefs and whatever. So they're the same kind of BS that we need to let go of and challenge. So that's really like the two pieces that I want people to keep in mind. It's like, yes, other people might do it, but no, still not helpful for you in recovery. And that's really clear. And I guess if we give examples, that might be more helpful to see how that can keep us stuck. Do you want to start with one example?
Yes, I actually was going to say something and I was like, whoa, I just remembered one that I was really stuck on. That was weighing myself all the time. Like that is such a recovery sabotaging behavior because for me, it determined the quality of my mood and my day and how I viewed myself. If the number was a number my ED was happy with, I would have a good day and I'd be in a good mood. And then if I had a number that surprised me or that my ED was not happy with, I would get like miserable that day and I'd have a terrible day and I'd punish myself with food. And that connection of that number on the scale determines how much I can eat that day was definitely there. It was like how much I can eat or how much I should restrict. And weighing myself was extremely triggering, right? In that sense. And I was focused on the number and I had no sense of the fact that that number fluctuates pretty greatly from day to day in a person who's not trying to control everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's so weird because I remember that this experience resonates with me, what you're sharing. And I also remember a time where, regardless of the number, that meant you need to use disordered behaviors because either I hated the number because my eating disorder was like, I don't approve of that. That's too high, blah, blah, blah. You have to use disordered behaviors to fix this. Or it was, see, this number is acceptable, but only because you're using disordered behaviors. So now we have to continue or else you will continue to, like, it will change and it will be not acceptable. So regardless of the darn number, it would still be, thus you have to use behaviors, which just shows how ridiculous this logic is. But that was a big one for me as well for a while.
Yes. And can I add to that? Like, you bring up a good point in the fact that when you're weighing yourself every day, the perfectionism kicks in and that lowest number you have, there's always something lower you want to achieve. So it is true. Like there were days where I felt really pissed off because the number wasn't as low as I wanted it to be. And like it would ruin the whole day. But then even on the days where I felt like I was in really good control, I was still suffering because I was using behaviors. It was not a path to just have a normal eating day or normal behavior.
Well, because guess what? It's never low enough.
Yeah.
It's never good enough. Like that's an illusion. Our eating disorder likes to sell us the dream that there's going to be that number or that size or that whatever where it's going to be fine. And it's like, and it was never fine. Like I did that. And then suddenly it got lower and lower and lower. And then it never got enough. And there is no such thing. It will never happen. So.
Oh man, this conversation is making me remember. I just had another memory of another freaking behavior I used to do, but I feel like we need to turn it over to you and hear what some of yours were.
I mean, one that is really linked to this one is clothes and certain clothes of certain sizes and like keeping certain clothes and sort of using them as a measure of how I'm doing and of whether or not my body is acceptable. And it's literally the same thing, right? As weighing yourself, but in a different format,
oh my God.
Which is the clothes.
So true. I feel like you put on a pair of jeans and it's your opportunity to body check in a whole new way. The mirror is not necessarily there, but you can body check based on how tight those are feeling. And I remember that being part of my story too. And it's really also unfair, like again, because we can't expect our bodies to be existing in the exact same way every single day. And we can't expect the genes to be existing in the exact same way every day. If you wash those genes, they're going to be so much tighter just because when you wash things, they kind of shrink a little and you have to wear them. It's like uncomfortable the first day. So I don't know, like that was a toughie for me.
I know that one of my like big moments in recovery was when I was like, I'm just going to throw these clothes away because I knew that some of the pieces that I was keeping and trying on every once in a while, even in recovery, they were only keeping me stuck because what was I expecting to suddenly fit in them? They were never meant to fit me. Like they were never meant to be for me, for my normal human sized, like adult body. And not only was it a recovery sabotaging behavior, but it actually is one of the big moments where I was like, I felt so much lighter when I didn't throw them away, by the way, I just gifted them to charity, but like it made me feel lighter, like I could breathe more easily when I dropped the clothes off and I was like, I'm done. I don't even have to look back and I don't have to try them ever again. They're gone.
Something's so good about donating clothes and just getting rid of stuff to begin with, but getting rid of stuff that causes a little bit of pain and suffering, right? It's such a relief. So,
by the way, people, if you do that with pictures of your body on your phone, same thing. So if you body check by comparing or looking at certain pictures of your body or certain whatever on your phone, I am not saying delete memories that you made with other humans, right? I have memories from my eating disorder years, and even though a lot of it is tainted, I am not saying throw everything away, don't remember anything from those years. Not what I'm saying. But we all know that there's a difference between those pictures and the pictures that you use for body checking. And I definitely had the other kind. And same thing. Oh my God, so freeing to finally delete them and not have them on my phone anymore. So I couldn't go back. I couldn't scroll back and check. I couldn't whatever with them. So just calling you out here if someone's watching and be like, oh my God, that's definitely.
Oh my God. Well, I wouldn't say, I definitely remember photos like causing me stress and triggering me to compare my body and compare my body to other people's bodies. I would like look at my best photo and then compare it to other photos. And that was really bad. But I see that so much, like, because I follow a lot of people on Instagram who have eating disorders, people who are, potential coaching clients or whatever. And I see people sharing photos from years ago consistently. And I always wonder, like, why are you resharing photos from when you were in your sickest place and sickest body? And it is because there's some kind of romanticizing or missing of that body, which is normal, but it's triggering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is there any other behavior that really stands out to you? Tell us.
Yeah, I have a few. I was reading food labels right and left all the time. And it was to the point of just constantly confusing myself and disconnecting from my needs and wants and intuition. So I would go to the store and say, this was common. I don't know, but like the grocery store, for instance, granola bars. In the US, we have hundreds of choices of granola bars. It's not like you have two. There's a whole aisle, and so I just remember going up, wanting to pick this certain type and being like, this type. Like I remember thinking, this feels so exciting. These are good. These are delicious. But then looking at the label and talking myself out of it. And then looking at the label of like 4 or 5 other options and then moving away from the option that I authentically wanted that seemed satisfying to something that was healthified and like low everything, like
tasted like dust,
like tasted like dust. Yeah, exactly. Had no actual satisfying elements to it. And so looking at nutrition labels were a way I betrayed my soul. It was a very micro, like not micro, but it was like a small example of how eating disorders cause you to betray your soul. Cause it was so clear to me that I really wanted something and I was swatting my hand away from it. It was like I was reaching for the cookie jar and my eating disorder was like, have a piece of broccoli instead. You know, it's like that killed me every single time. Like it was an emotional torture chamber to deny myself what I wanted based on numbers. I never got pleasure out of that. It was always painful for me.
Yeah.
I'm lucky because some get numb to the pain that it can cause.
I do want to add to that one. At some point, what this turned into for me was buying the exact same thing over and over again. So technically, I wasn't reading food labels all the time, but I wasn't buying anything else than this one version of this one thing that I had allowed myself to buy. So if someone's listening, we're like, yeah, that's not me. But if we suggest that you're going to buy a different version of that thing and just grab any in the aisle, and you're like, no, I got to check what's in it. Also not good. So sometimes I can feel that way. Like I don't read full labels, but it's like, okay, so when next week you're going to go grocery shopping, you're going to buy a pre-made hummus and you're just going to grab the first one you see. And you're like, oh, I can't do that. And it's like, why not? It's like, well, I need to check. And it's like, well, why? Because that's also where sometimes our eating disorders can be really sneaky and sort of make it sound like we're totally cool. We're not spending an hour in the supermarket looking at everything. We're just grabbing what we need and exiting. It's like, but are we really? So I'm just throwing that in there because I know that I did that and I was not in any kind of way, shape, or form actually health supportive or recovery aligned. So
yeah, I think the rigidity even causes people to forget that there are other options out there, which is also interesting. Oh my gosh, I can feel myself wanting to coach people into solutions, but I know we're going to save that for another time.
Every single one of these,
there's like exercise.
A massive different thing behind it. But generally speaking, like label checking and counting, anything that has to do with counting is kind of really closely related, right? So if you're calorie counting, macro counting, keeping records on pieces of paper or in apps and whatnot, please stop. This is also a recovery sabotaging behavior. Totally did that. And by the way, if you're like, yeah, but I've been counting for so long, I will count forever. That's not a thing.
Right. And you can forget. Like I take pride in this moment during the pandemic. Someone asked me, it was just an out of the blue question. Guess how many calories are in this thing? And first of all, I don't think about calories anymore. I don't read food labels at all. It's useless information to me at this point. Like, honestly, I don't have allergies. I really don't have a reason to be looking at food labels. And I remember like guessing and I was completely wrong, like far wrong. And I kind of pat myself on the shoulder and I was like, look at me sucking at estimating calories. Yes, like this is a sign that I have really come far because I used to be able to estimate pretty precisely. But then again, calorie counts are never actually precise because there's so much variation in the way.
Yes. I mean, if anyone needs to know more about this, please have a discussion with your dietitian about how that information is BS anyway, because it really, really is. We don't say that because we think it's nice for you to hear it. It's actually because it's really not important, not useful information. So please continue these discussions in depth with your treatment teams. And if any of you has MyFitnessPal, please delete it. Yeah, it's not a pal. It's a mean app. Also, I remember using that app and not good, not helpful, and logging everything. And I mean, I'm not going to go in detail because I don't want this to be triggering, but there is no reason for an average human to need an app like that one.
Yeah, it's actually a very huge inconvenience.
So if you're in recovery,
energy,
and it's there, just delete it. By the way, the health app on your iPhone or equivalent on your other phone, delete that as well. If you have like a smartwatch that does the equivalent thing, ask it to stop counting steps and whatnot. Also not needed. All of these things, like sometimes you might not even realize that you're checking that data that is sort of collected for you automatically. Because like that health app, for example, is installed by default on phones. Take it away and then see what happens. Because I've had clients say, I don't check those things. And then we delete it. And they're like, oh my God, I went back on my phone to check it. I didn't realize I was checking it. Like, yeah, see? So it's the same thing with MyFitnessPal. Some people are like, but I don't really log things in there, but they check things on there. Like they will check like the data on certain things that they eat or the way they move or whatever. And it's like, that is also not helpful. So the safest approach is to just.
Yeah. I also hear people looking at, I did not use MyFitnessPal because I had an eating disorder in the Stone Ages, but I would say that I do hear of people even looking at it to compare like how much they were eating at their sickest, which is also really harmful. It's like comparing old photos of yourself. You're looking at old like plans you had that would not be sustainable at all for you now. So
Yep.
yeah, those recovery sabotaging behaviors, I mean, the list can go on and on. Do we want to add any more? Should we hold back?
I think so that people can hear them. It would be nice maybe if you read them all like one after the other so that they can sort of like hear all the examples before we wrap it up.
Okay, let's give it energy. Let's give it theatrics to make this list interesting. Okay. So we got compulsive exercise. No, okay. This is gonna take forever. Counting calories. Reading food label. Weighing or measuring food. This one's like on a scale.
Oh yeah. That would be it. Like putting it and taking out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What an inconvenience. Food rituals. So that's cutting food into bits, chewing excessively, eating only on small dishes. Those are all very unique ones.
Sneaky though. So sneaky.
And I have to call people out on that. This is a small dish. Comparing yourself to others, either in real life or in magazines and television. Yeah, that was a big one for me. I was on all the chat rooms. Lol. Again, Stone Age recovery over here. Body checking. Keeping clothes that fit only when you are underweight, which we talked about, or only when you are at your smallest, so maybe not technically underweight. Mm-hmm. Fasting, cleanses, detox diets. I'm just going to go like this.
Yeah. Massive. No.
Only eating vegan food. I don't know. Another. I mean, I guess you can recover.
Yeah. I think if someone is vegan, bring that to your treatment team. Definitely work with a dietitian and question seriously and honestly where that comes from. Yes. That's all I'll say, because I think that there is no point in getting into it now because it deserves an entire discussion. But if that's the case, bring it to your treatment team. Have honest conversations around that to make sure that you know what is or isn't disordered.
I completely agree. Look at your own intentions behind it, motivators behind it, to see where that comes from. And then weighing yourself. And actually, eating only organic or raw foods. So that clean eating.
Yeah.
And that's really the list. I mean, the list can go on and on. I think obsessing over certain social media accounts that cause you to compare is a big one.
Yeah.
Those are it in the book, at least.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would really encourage anyone to sort of zoom out and look at what makes them feel, what makes you feel weird, what maybe triggers your eating disorder voice, what makes it be a bit louder. And please, 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 if you talk about these with other people and they go like, yeah, that's fine, everyone does it, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. So don't measure the gravity and the importance of using these behaviors based on people's reaction to you sharing about using them and these behaviors making you feel distressed and overwhelmed and anxious and fearful of foods or whatnot, because they're normalized, that they're actually normal. They're not.
So true. So true. I completely agree with you on that. I also think diet talk can fall into this category too. Like you're around people, certain groups of people who are always talking about diets. That one just came to me while you were talking. But yeah, just because other people are doing these behaviors, and they don't have an eating disorder, doesn't mean you're allowed to be doing these things. Like you have an eating disorder, chances are, if you're watching this, and your care of yourself is going to look different. And it's important to remember that. So,
agreed.
All right. I think we're good. Hope you guys all took something valuable from this video today. Let us know in the comments your favorite improv pieces from our list. Got a little excited in the beginning of that list, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also feel free to comment, like, subscribe, share with people who you think might find this video useful. And we look forward to seeing you all next time. And Anne Claire, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Meg. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.